In the last video, we have seen address mapping, and in that we have seen address resolution protocol that does the mapping of MAC address to the IP address. RAARP also works similar to ARP. The request is broadcast on the network with the physical address, and the machine which knows the corresponding IP address will reply. So RAARP works in a client-server manner where your RAARP client program sends a broadcast request to the RAARP server, and the server is going to be respond with a unicast request. So same like ARP, your request is broadcast and your reply is unicast. But what is the change? Over here we are having the RAARP client and the RAARP server. So basically, if I'll see the advantage of RARP, diskless workstation can find out the logical address when it boots. No need of configuring or assigning the logical addresses to the machine beforehand only. Dynamically, the IP addresses are assigned to the machine. So it's the RARP servers which keeps a track of all the logical address that is assigned. So instead of assigning the IP address to all the machines, in case of diskless workstation, whenever they boot, at that time your RARP server assigns the IP address to them. But there are some problems also with the RARP. So RARP works using the hardware broadcast. That means that if you have a large internet network with many physical networks, you need a RARP server. And if one server goes down at that time, everything is depend on that server. So what you need is a multiple RARP server in the system, so that there should not be the traffic on the network. So what can be happen if there is going to be only a single RARP server? So at that time, it may be possible that if there is going to be, this is my server, there can be a lot of traffic on this server. So what we can do is we can have the multiple servers, RARP servers, where the request will be going to this multiple RARP server. So what the RARP server is not doing for us is, for the given MAC address, it is mapping you the IP address. But RARP does not provide us the other information like what is the subnetwork mask and what is the default gateway. So it works fine. It properly, for the diskless workstation, it properly does the mapping of MAC to the IP address, and as per requirement, it provides the IP address, but it does not provide the subnet mask or the default gateway. So for that, we need the another protocol. So if you'll see some of the features, a machine can use the physical address to get the logical address using the RARP. Again, your message is a broadcast and your reply is going to be unicast, which is provided by your RARP server. So broadcasting is done at the data link layer. Broadcast request does not pass to the boundaries of the network. So these are some of the features of your RARP. We have seen the advantage as well as the disadvantage also. Now, the problem that we have seen with the RAARP is it does not provide me the other information about the subnet mask and the default gateway. So we can use another protocol. So as you can see, there's a serious problem due to the broadcasting at the data link layer and the RARP server required for each network or a subnet. So I should have for each subnet a separate RARP server, and on that the broadcasting had to be done by the client machine who wants the mapping. So the another protocol that is used for it is a bootstrap protocol. It is a client server protocol that configures a diskless computer or a computer that is booted for the first time. What do you mean by the diskless workstation? So a machine is not having the sufficient information or sufficient booting file at that particular machine because it is not having the disk. So it depends on the server to get that configuration file from the server. And in that kind of scenario, we can make use of the Bootstrap protocol, where a diskless workstation, when first time it boots, at that time, it should get that information from the server, that is the Bootstrap server. As it is working in a client server manner, your client is requesting to the server to get this configuration file, and after that your machine is going to be booted. So Bootstrap provides the other information also. It provides the IP address, network mask, the address of default router, and the address of the name server. Already we have studied what is the domain name server. So it also gives the address of the domain name server. So the Bootstrap protocol replaces the reverse address resolution protocol to find out the logical address from the physical address. It is an application layer protocol which uses the UDP protocol. So it is application layer protocol that is making use of UDP internally. It also works in a client server manner. So generally, the protocols which is working in the client server manner, they make use of the UDP services, because UDP is a connectionless protocol, and for that connectionless protocol is better perform with the client server architecture. So whenever a protocol is using a client server architecture, most of the time they make use of the UDP protocol. So the first scenario we will see, if the client and the server are on the same machine. So we are having a BootTP client and we are having the BootTP server, and they are on the same network. So if they are on the same network, your BootTP client is going to be send a request. Again, your request and reply packet format we have already seen for the ARP. It is same for RAARP also. So whenever a BootTP client is going to be requesting for the IP address, at that time it will send the request message, and it is making use of the UDP bell number port 68 and the 67. So you can see that both the client and the server are making the use of a UDP port, that is the 67 and the 68. And you can see that as we are not knowing the IP address, okay, so at that time we are putting all the zeros and ones are indicating it is a broadcast message. So you can see that this message gets broadcasted. When it is broadcasted, your BootTP server is going to be get that message, and after getting that message, it will be replied with the IP address. So this is the first scenario. The second scenario, you can see that when the client and the server machines are on the different network, then how it is going to be working. So when the client and the server are on the different machines, at that time, one host in the source network acts as a relay agent. Very important functionality of the relay agent. So in your network, one of the hosts is working as a relay agent, which knows the IP address of the BootTP server. Why this kind of thing? Because everyone should not know the IP address of the BootTP server. Otherwise, there will be the traffic at the BootTP server. So the traffic also gets reduced, and a kind of security is also provided, because one of the server is going to be acting as a relay agent. So what this relay agent is going to be do, it knows the IP address of the BootTP server. So you can see that when the BootTP client is sending a request, it is broadcasting that request. Okay. So whenever it is broadcasting that request, it is the relay agent who is getting that request. And what he is doing after getting that request, relay agent knows the IP address of the BootTP server. So what it will do the changes in the packet, as it is a broadcast type of packet, because I have specified okay, that packet should be broadcasted to all, but it has received by the relay agent. Now the relay agent is going to be change the destination IP address, because what we specify in the packet, who is the source and who is the destination to whom we are forwarding this packet. So we can change the destination address, destination IP address as the IP address of the BootTP server. That is done by the relay agent. And now this is a kind of unicast request that will go through the internet, and finally it will be reach out to the BootTP server, and then the BootTP server is going to be sent a kind of unicast reply to the relay agent. So this way, When the client and the server machines are on the different network, the functionality is performed by the Bootstrap protocol. Next is it will see the applications of the BootTP. It is an application layer protocol. Already we have seen, hence it is implemented in any application. There's no need of assigning the IP address to each machine. Only when a machine needs an IP address, it gets assigned. So that way you can just save your IP addresses also. Thus the network can operate only with the limited IP address. So whenever machine is needing, then only I'm providing the IP address. A common BootTP server can be used for the multiple network, which can be managed by a single administrator. And it also supplies the additional information as a subnet mask, default gateway address, and the address of the name server that we have already seen. Now, what are the limitations? So, BootTP requires a predefined mapping. Okay, so kind of predefined mapping is required for the BootTP of the physical and the logical addresses in the servers. Hence, it is not a dynamic configuration protocol. So it is not a dynamic configuration protocol. Statically, it is just doing all the mapping of physical to the IP address. The table has to be manually updated in the BootTP. The communication between the client and the server is done only when the system starts. Because what we are saying, it is a diskless workstation. So if the diskless workstation wants to find out their IP addresses, so unless and until my system starts, my workstations will not get the IP address. So the communication between the client and server is done only when the system starts. It does not support dynamic addressing, and also unused IP address cannot be automatically obtained by the client. What is the meaning of it? So when the client is using a IP address, and after that his purpose is over, so that IP address has to be that IP address information has to be maintained in the table of your Bootstrap protocol. So out of whatever you have assigned and whatever are unused, that cannot be automatically obtained by the client. So manually and statically assigning the IP address to host requires accurate and the up-to-date documentation in order to prevent the duplication of the IP address. So we require accurate information whenever we are assigning or we are giving the IP address to the different machines which are requesting for. So it should not happen to the two machines I'm giving the same IP address. At that time, there can be the problem that can become in the network, or that can be the problem the host has to be faced. So it is very carefully the IP address has to be assigned to prevent the duplicate IP address problem. So these are some of the problems with your BootTP, and for that we can use another protocol that is called as the dynamic host configuration protocol. So DHCP provides the static and dynamic address allocation that can be manual or automatic. So both kind of things are supported by the DHCP. So you can see that DHCP is supporting the static address allocation. In this mode, it works like the BootTP. So the DHCP server has a database which contains the physical address to logical address mapping. But what will be happen in the dynamic address allocation? In this case, DHCP maintains another database, that is the dynamic database, which contains the pool of IP address. So it is containing all the IP addresses. When a request comes from a DHCP client, the server first check the static database. Why it is checking in the static database? For checking that whether that IP address is assigned to somebody else or not. So it will check in the static database also. If in the static database, physical logical address binding exists in the static database, the permanent logical address is sent as a reply. So first it will check in the static database, and if it is available in the static database, the permanent logical address will be given to that particular host which is requesting. If no entry exists in the static database, at that time what it is doing? It is temporarily assigning the IP address from the dynamic, because it is having the two database. Okay. So now dynamically from where it is assigning? In the dynamic database, it is having all available IP addresses. So from that, it is assigning the IP address to the host, but this IP address is assigned on the list. The client has an option to renew the lease before it expires. So if the client wants, he want to be use that IP address for some more period of time, it has to be renew it. If not renew, then the address becomes available again and added to the dynamic database. Means if he is not renewing that IP address, then that address will be taken from that particular host and it is going to become as a part of your dynamic database. So DHCP can work in manual or as well as in the atomic mode. In the manual configuration, the static address are configured manually. So manually, all that tables are going to be maintained. But in the automatic configuration, the dynamic database used and the dynamic addresses are created automatically. So this is all about the DHCP. So if you see the advantage of the DHCP, there is a no need to manually configure the database because it is supporting the dynamic configuration also. IP addresses are assigned and reused dynamically. So if I'm assigning to one host, when that particular host is releasing that, I can assign to the another host. It is not possible to assign the IP address manually to a moving host. Very important. So if a host is moving from one address, one place to the another place, at that time, based on the place, the IP addresses are going to be changed. So it is not possible to assign the IP address manually to a moving host, especially when the network address range is not known. So in such cases, dynamic assignment is needed. So as the places are going to be changed dynamically, the IP address is changed appropriately. So it is easy to keep the track of used and the unused addresses with your DHCP, and it uses the UDP, hence it consumes a more network bandwidth. Why more network bandwidth? Because we know how the UDP works. It is a connectionless protocol. So when the connectionless protocol works, the most of the overhead is for sending your data, because every data packet is going to be have some header information which includes the source address, destination address, and rest of the control information. So of course the UDP is consuming the more network bandwidth because there is the overhead of the header. So DHCP is not useful if the domain name is used by the host. So if the host is using the domain name system, at that time, again, the DHCP is not going to be useful since the IP address changes dynamically if the DNS is going to be used. So this is how your RARP, boot TP, and the DHCP works.